Hi, my name is Cienna Lopushinsky. I'm pretty nervous. Ivan, okay. I'm pretty nervous, I'm not gonna lie, this is the first time I've done some sort of like public speaking situation. So just bear with me. Ivan, would you be able to help me? I can leave it in the stand if it's just adjusted because I'm short. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Okay, cool. Can you all hear me? Yeah. Sweet. So yeah, I'm a little bit nervous. To start off, Ivan mentioned route setting, and that's my profession, what I'm in currently. I was also a guide with REI for a couple of years. Unfortunately, if anyone has heard this news, REI got rid of their experiences program after 40 years and 500 plus employees. We weren't making the money that they wanted to bring in, so they got rid of us all, which was a bummer. I really enjoyed that job, and I'll talk a little bit more about it as I go on. But for right now, I'm doing route setting. And route setting, if anyone isn't sure what that is, it's basically if you go into a climbing gym and you see all of the holds and the routes on the wall, I'm part of the team that makes that possible and that creates those routes for people to climb. Personally, I climb in a bouldering setting. So instead of using ropes and gear and aid and stuff like that, it's strictly just me, the wall, and a crash pad underneath. So that's what I set as well. So only in a bouldering specific gym is where we're at Hangar 18. How I kind of got into climbing is where I wanted to start. So a few years into high school, I was playing volleyball, and then that kind of ended as high school ended, and I needed something new to do, and I was looking for something that was not only going to keep me physically active and fit, but something that was a challenge to me and something new. A friend introduced me to a climbing gym, and I instantly fell in love with it. I think the challenge of physically pushing yourself to try something in that aspect and using your whole body to get through what we call a problem on the wall or a route was very intriguing to me, because not only are you using your personal self in your physical sense, but you're really challenging yourself mentally to think about what's the next move that I'm going to make? How am I going to piece together this puzzle using my body physically? So I very quickly fell in love with it, became very obsessed, went to the gym like every single day of the week. Could barely drive my car home after the first week of climbing because my hands were so raw. And I think a lot of us climbers, there's a few of us here today, I think a lot of us have experienced that type of obsession. And it just kept revolving since then. So I started in 2017 as a climber and was just doing it as a personal hobby. I love the community that's involved with it, because everybody there, even though it's an individual sport, it's a very supportive community that you're in. You'll never feel alone. You'll never feel like you don't have somebody else that you can reach out to, whether it is climbing related or just mentally related, and you need somebody to lean on. Those people are there in that community. And after a couple years of climbing in the gym, I started at another gym. It's called The Factory. The Factory eventually switched over to another kind of gym, Hangar 18. They were bought out during 2020. But when I first started climbing there, it was because some of my friends had taken me to that location, and I really fell in love with the people there. Sometimes a certain gym isn't meant for your fit, or maybe you just aren't finding your people. And eventually when I switched over there, I really felt like I found my group. So I think that's really important when you're climbing. Let's see. I think walking into a climbing gym for the first time can be something that's really intimidating for some people. It's something new. It's very abstract in a way. When you walk in and you see a climbing wall, you don't know what you're looking at. It kind of looks like a Jason Pollock painting, where it's just like paint splatters everywhere and it looks like chaos. But once you kind of figure out what all the colored holes on the wall mean, where the routes go, and you can kind of piece it together in your brain, it all becomes very clear to what you're seeing. So I think in that sense, it very much so is an art, to where to the naked eye, maybe it doesn't look like anything. But when you become a climber and you get more in depth with it, then you really start to see not only the routes on the wall, but the intricate ways that you would get through it yourself. I think being a new climber, is like ultimately intimidating. You see strong people on the wall. Maybe they're all muscled up. They look really cool at what they're doing. And obviously, they've been doing it for a while. And as somebody that's new into it, that can be pretty scary. For me, I was lucky enough to have a friend. I give kudos to people that walk in alone and do it themselves. That's really awesome. But I think having that community and really being open to pushing yourself past that first barrier of coming into a gym and just trying it for your first day, I think that's the biggest thing that goes into it. After a couple of years of climbing at this first gym, I was lucky enough to have friends that invited me to go outdoors to climb, and I didn't even know that that was a thing. So we went out to a place called Black Mountain, which is up towards Idlewild area. Kind of isolated from people. The road to get up there is a little rough, so there wasn't anybody up there when we got there that day. It also snowed the night before, so the whole place was covered in white, which was, when you step out of the car, it was like, wow, we're out here to climb, which is something I already love. You add into the aspect of being out in nature. It's beautiful. I'm here with friends. It was just a whole other mind-blowing factor to me. And being somebody that grew up in nature all the time with my family, camping, fishing, hiking, that's something that I've always loved so deeply. And my appreciation for nature really runs deep in my veins. So being able to be out there with the people that I appreciate in a space that I appreciate so heavily, it really unlocked a true love and passion for climbing that I hadn't experienced with any other sport. Starting to go outdoors as an outdoor climber, that's also something that's really intimidating to people, because you can be comfortable in a climbing gym setting and you get used to this routine of things. It's kind of like going to the gym by yourself or with friends, and it's all very accessible. When you go outdoors for the first time and when you're first starting off to do that, there's a whole other set of barriers that you got to get past. A lot of it is mental, and I had a lot of fear of the unknown when I was out there, what to expect. The rock is obviously different, so instead of colored routes on a wall that all make sense, you kind of have this rock and it's all the same color. You kind of have to figure out what you're doing and how you go about this climb in a totally different aspect. And luckily enough, I had my community and my friends to show me how and what to do. I've continued obsessively climbing outdoors throughout the years. That was probably in 2018 or 2019 that I started climbing outdoors, and I haven't stopped since. I think on a very personal and spiritual level, climbing outdoors shaped me as to the person I am today. It made me feel very vulnerable, not only to the elements of being outside, but to really pushing myself past my own kind of comfort zones and knowing that this is all up to us and no one else is out here with us. So you either do it or you don't, and no one else is going to witness this. This is just for you. But being able to push yourself in that sense and to really feel like I'm at home in this space was very special to me. After a couple years of climbing outdoors and I switched my gyms, I actually started volunteering at this new gym, Hangar 18, as a hold washer. So basically the behind the scenes of, instead of putting the routes up, you have to take them down at some point, and then wash the holds, wash the wall, all the back end stuff. So I started doing some of that, and it was basically volunteer one Sunday and you get a month free for climbing. So I was like, cool, I don't got money, that's awesome. So I was doing that for about a year. And then when the ownership switched over and it became Hangar 18, my friends that had brought me to that position, they were like, hey, we work here and we actually need more people. Would you be willing to work front desk? And so I started working at the gym, became even more immersed in this world that I was so obsessively like collecting bits and parts of. As I worked there, I became friends with the route setting team. And all of those people that work on our team, they all are obsessed with climbing outdoors just like I am. So it's like instant chemistry, and it just made sense to have these people around my life and as my friends. I slowly started to forerun with them. So after you set a climb, you spend the next half of your shift trying the climbs. And a lot of times the setters will try it ourselves, but sometimes I can't do every climb that I set. I'm not that strong. It would be really cool to be, but I'm not. So we need other people to try them, or maybe a different bodied person. All of my coworkers, my setters, they're really tall dudes. I'm not. So to be of a different stature, to be a female, where things are just physically different, it helps to have those different types of people within that team to make sure that, one, climbs are accessible to everybody. Because I have this reach, and they have another foot that they can reach. Something that I can fit in right here, where there's comfortable holds here and I'm comfortable, they feel like they're being squished in a box. So in that sense, it's a very interesting creative eye that it takes to make these routes that are comfortable for all types of climbers. And we pride ourselves in that at our gym. So when I started climbing with them and forerunning with them, I gave them a lot of input. And I was like, hey, I can't do that climb. Probably won't ever unless you adjust it. And so we really gave each other the proper feedback that not only they wanted, but it helped me as a climber to become more intuitive in the way that they were setting and what they were doing. After a little while of climbing with them, I started bugging the head setter, who's my friend. I was like, hey, I think it'd be really cool if I could set. What do you think? At the time, there wasn't an opening, but he always kept an ear out for anything available to me. And then after a short while, timing and situation lined up, and he was like, hey, do you still want to be a setter? I was like, absolutely. So putting all my experience together is the biggest thing that made it possible for me to be a setter. It doesn't have to do with strength. You don't have to be the strongest climber out there. But the years that I've put behind climbing outdoors, and the love that I have for it, that's what makes it what it is. Because you could be a very straightforward, kind of like a paint by numbers type of person, and that's fine. And it's being creative in a sense, because you're doing some form of art. But in the same way that climbing, you could put up a route that's very paint by numbers, where it's just hold, 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 hold. It'll end up looking like a ladder. Maybe it's not very interactive. But if you have that creative aspect to it, and you can really envision the movement that you want people to be doing on the wall and creating movement for that people, it's a very special thing. And to use your imagination to kind of push yourself outside of those limits as well. Because for me, I love climbing outdoors, so a lot of my climbs are inspired by outdoor climbing. But a lot of people, I don't know if you guys have seen, like in the Olympics recently, there's competition climbing, which is very different. It's very dynamic, kind of looks like parkour on the wall. And that's not my style of climbing. But as an artist, it is my job to push myself to that limit and to try to figure out new ways of setting, new ways of getting people to interact with art on the wall. Because that's what it really is when it comes down to it. Climbing may seem very simple when you look at it from the grand outside view of just, oh, you're on climbing holds or you're getting up a boulder. Cool. But when you look at it deeper and you dissect all of those layers to climbing, it's not just getting up a rock. It's mentally pushing yourself past that barrier that you had put on yourself, that limitation of saying, I can't do that. I don't think I can do that. I'll never do that move, or I'll never get to the top of that rock. You have to push yourself every time you're on a climb to get past that mental barrier, and then physically getting stronger too, so that you can do those things. And I think it's a really difficult thing for people to do. I know I struggle with it as well, just fear of things. This was scary for me, and I'm here. So that was kind of something that went hand in hand with climbing, setting, and guiding, and why I love those things so much. Thank you. Thank you, Ivan. Because in guiding, a lot of times when you're out there with people, I would guide climbing, mountain biking, kayaking, all the things that I love. I kayak, surf, mountain bike on my free time as well as climb. Pretty much anything outdoors I'll do. But specifically with guiding, these are things that are very intimidating to people when they first come outdoors. They've never done it before. They don't know what it's going to look like. There's a lot of unknown factors. And as a guide, you get to watch these people every single day break through small little barriers and take that one extra step to pushing themselves, to believing in themselves even further than they had when they had signed up for the class. And I think it's a really beautiful thing to watch people do. And as a route setter, I get to see that every day as well. When people climb my routes and they give me feedback, they say how much they appreciated it. Maybe there's a part of it that they're not quite getting through, but they're working on it. Gives me a sense of pride to feel people's happiness when they do finish the route. They say, hey, that was awesome. That made my week. That was my project route. That's something I was trying all month. And I finally did it. It's a really heartwarming thing to feel. And I think it's something that as artists, as creative people, we not only get to feel that when we finish a project or create something, but for the people we are creating it for. And I think that's where my love for it really stems from. As a closing statement, I wanted to thank everybody that put this together. I really appreciate this whole team, Katie, Ivan, Ian. I'm meeting other people too. They're all such a great mastermind behind this, and I appreciate you guys coming out to hear this. Maybe it's something that you've never heard of before, you want to learn more about. And if you would like to learn more about it, we do have some free day passes. So later today around 1 p.m., we're going to be going to the climbing gym that I work at. 10 people can get these passes. So if you want to try climbing, or maybe you just want to go to the gym and see what it's about, we have them here. So you can come let one of us know. But yeah, thank you, everyone.
You didn't talk about the drill bit. Talk about the drill and like.
Oh, like comparing to painting? So how Ivan and I kind of see it, route setting to painting, is that as a painter, you start with a blank canvas and you have your tools of the trade, which are paintbrushes and colors. And route setting is the same, where you start with a completely blank wall. Use your bits, your drill, your climbing holds to all create something that's not only something to view like painting is itself, but something interactive that you can physically try. And it is, in a very real sense, a way of expressing art, because the way that I go about creating these routes, not only is it from nature, and I think personally that nature is the ultimate creative mastermind. We get all of our ideas and inspiration from her, but making it beautiful as well, making it look pretty on the wall is also another aspect that goes into it. So.